What's up, guys? I decided that I'm going to split my channel in between talking about mental health, making travel videos, and talking about my Navy experiences just to, round everything out. I did one video talking about one of my Navy experiences. This is going to be another video. I mean, I was in for 9 years, so I have plenty of them. And I want to start this off by saying, I don't want people to think that I have a problem with the military or people that are in the military. Obviously, because I was in the military for 9 years, I was one of them, so I feel that kind of entitles me to have an opinion about the organization. And as I always say, joining the military was one of the best decisions I ever made. I mean, it opened up the world to me and got me out of Central Florida, which was, a desperate necessity because that place was killing me. Lastly, for this disclaimer, I want to say, even though I'm going to talk about one of the worst leaders I had in the military, I want to say some of the best leaders and some of the best human beings I have met have been in the military. Don't take this the wrong way. And also I want to say that joining the military is a great idea for somebody that has no direction in life, I mean, people might have, will have differing opinions about, the mission of the military in general, and, I understand, and I'm going to stay neutral on this opinion, but, I defend it because it helped me, so that's all I'm going to say about that. And also, I think it's good to talk about my bad experiences that I had in the military because it'll give it value, something beyond just bad memories, so here we go. The general attitude that you have or that we have in the military, us, former and present military members, is that we are all warfighters. That's how it goes. I mean, of course. But the problem arises in the Navy that the majority of people are, technicians, operators, and maintainers of different types. So in many instances, a lot of leaders have to find ways to make it stressful, even if it's completely arbitrary and unnecessary. Granted, this is all my opinion. In many situations, this leads to a lot of sleep deprivation and anxiety, and it's believed that these factors led to my sleep apnea and panic disorder. Autocratic leadership style is also a breeding ground for personality disorders, especially amongst the smart rates, such as mine. I was an electronics technician. You'll find yourself surrounded by a bunch of nerds that are on a power trip. I'm not saying anything against nerds. I consider myself a nerd. But I'm a nerd that's, not a douchebag. I'm talking about the type of people that did not get beat up enough in high school and think that having a big mouth equates to physical strength. In many situations, bullying is not discouraged and is even encouraged without punishment, which can, lead to a lot of shitty situations. This leads me to the story of the worst leader I had in the Navy, and possibly one of the worst people I met in the Navy. I'm going to keep names out of all these videos to, avoid any unnecessary problems. This is the type of guy that made a miscarriage joke to one of our supervisors whose wife was pregnant, and once got in one of my friend's faces, taunting him, telling him to punch him so that he can get him in trouble. He also told one of our younger guys that he should start drinking to fit in with us. And I would never tell somebody to start drinking to fit in with me. During the first meeting that he had with me, he sat me down, told me he was making me a supervisor, but that none of my peers liked me or trusted me to have any type of responsibility. He also told me that he saw no potential in me and expected me to fail, but to prove him wrong. It was a common theme on my second ship that people were always bad-mouthing me behind my back and even to my face, but I couldn't do anything about it because of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It prevents blue-on-blue violence. So I had to let a bunch of little punk asses, have their little power trip and feel like they were tough because they could talk shit, and I couldn't do anything about it. I considered this one of the worst points of my life because I was completely out of control of my situation and was at the mercy of a bunch of people I didn't respect. It's hard to succeed in any environment when no one holds you in positive regard. Due to this sentiment, a lot of pre-existing issues in my division were attributed to me by my peers, and it got to the point that any little mistake I made was, considered a fucking catastrophe. And also a point of ridicule, so I was, being bullied by people half my size. It got to the point that I was sick of being criticized, so I told this particular leader that I had no interest in electronics anymore. And naturally I was fired after a couple months, and I was sent down to work with the engineers, which ended up being a blessing because I ended up getting one of the highest evaluations on the ship for my rank at that time. Well, it was the highest rank I was in the military, which was E5, but this was seen as a way of throwing me in the trash, basically. At the same time, a TV showed up broken in my space, or not my space, a space of my old division. And naturally, the blame was placed on me because I was known for having a bad temper. I fucking wonder why. And it made most sense to blame the person who wasn't working in the division at the time but had access to the spaces. Accusation process, by this leader consisted of him yelling at me and telling me to fess up because he knew I was guilty. And if I didn't confess, he would punish me to the greatest of his capabilities, even though there was no evidence that it was me. But, because I have a backbone, I stood my ground and wouldn't let him, confess to something I didn't do. So this led to me getting threatened anytime I fucked up at all on the ship. Any little mistake, was turned into, one of the catastrophes. So it wasn't a good situation. But that's enough whining for one video, and I'll counteract the saltiness of this video, with a positive video about the Navy next time. So as always, if you like my video, subscribe. If you like my music, bite. And if you hate me, tell everybody. Out.